So, hi everyone, and welcome to this specific workshop, which will be about how to successfully run a MUNI partner club. So, my name is Jaime Nunnikhoven. I am the co-sec-gen of MUN Impact Global. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a rising senior.
Hello, my name is María Fernández. Right now, I'm working on a new project, which is the alumni network of MUN Impact, and I'm also 17 years old and a senior too.
Right. So one of the key points is, well, why should you create a MUN Impact Club in the first place? Some people in particular decide to create one in order to make a change or different. Perhaps this is because their future project life goal perhaps is related to this. As such, one way of putting that forth is to create a MUN Impact Club, and through that, in some specific way, through one of the SDGs, make that difference on a local scale, but still it's a local change that really does make a difference when it comes down to it. So a key point to take into account while doing this is that you need to choose an SDG that is adequate for your specific niche. By niche, we first mean yourself, right? You're the one creating this MUN Impact Club. As such, it should be really down to earth with your ideals and how you see the world. Because if it's not important to you, then it's hard for it to be important to anyone else. So you need to get it straight for yourself. Perhaps it's something that you've always been wanting to do. And one way of doing this is the club itself. Also, don't make it too hard on yourself. Just look for something on a local scale that you can really make a difference in, right? So perhaps you live in Spain, and one of the things that you might think first is to change the infrastructure, right? So SDG 9. But that might not be very inconvenient because that would involve a lot of harsh work that you cannot really put any of your time into, since perhaps that would involve talking to the government. Whilst perhaps you're living in the US and you're more interested in climate action, and on a local scale, you can really make a change and get people working towards that. So just those 2 points to keep in mind.
Okay, so another reason why you should create a MUNI club is raising awareness. So for that, we need to make teenagers conscious about global issues. And in order to do that, we need to promote the SDGs. So for example, let's say nowadays poverty is a huge problem and you want to help your country to solve it. So for that, what you need to do is spread among the youth what SDG 1 is, no poverty, and also spread the targets that tackle this SDG.
Right. So, in order to create one of these clubs, what are the requirements? So the first requirement is to host one MUN Impact workshop so you can educate others outside of the club on the MUN Impact philosophy, resources, and tools. Now, these more than requirements are really guidelines. These are 3 pillars that you should build your club upon, because they're what will enable the club to, first of all, be successful, as what we've seen in the past years of these MUN Impact clubs rising and some of them falling, but mostly rising. So this first point really relates to getting more people involved and getting the ideas out there. You know, ideas run people in a way. So if the idea is out there, then the people will come.
So the second requirement is basically run one SDG action campaign. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small, but it should ideally focus on one specific target. For example, let's say you want to focus on SDG 6. So your action campaign can be a beach cleanup. And the third requirement is sharing your story, sharing what you have done for that SDG. So for that, you need to share with MUN Impact a blog post about what you've done, how you have done it, and also the results that activity has had.
Right. So this third point, it's really one to keep in mind. You really want to keep everything documented, be it through videos, be it through photos, be it just written down. But you know, photos are a really helpful way to illustrate what you've done. You know, like an image speaks 1,000 words, right? So documenting this process is really important. And this is, for example, one of the mistakes that my club did it in particular. One was a technical malfunction, and before that, it's just that we didn't really record anything or put anything on tape. And we'd actually done around 2 cleanups by then, 2 river cleanups, and we had no documentation on it whatsoever. So the only real proof that we had of that is just documenting what we have taken down. In this case, it was noting down the pH levels and how oxygenized the river was, the amount of oxygen in the water, which depends on the temperature or on the contamination of the water, by the way. And really, that's the only thing we had to show for it. So, it's really important to keep in mind to take photos and really document the process, especially because you get to look back on it and see what you've done. So people are the biggest resource. As such, as an MUN Impact Club, your main focus is people. At the end of the day, the SDGs are working towards that, to helping people. So again, choose an SDG that is really something you can do. You can't change the world, but you can change yourself, and you can change whatever surrounds you. You can take control of that and actually work towards that. As such, again, it's really important to zero down what is it you're going to do in particular that you can actually make a change. And it's really important to keep clear why it's essential. If it's essential to you, it can be essential to others. Activities. Sorry. So the most important thing is to keep things flowing like a river, or to keep things flowing like a machine, right? So you can't just have this structure that some companies have in today's age that's been changing, which is like, you just do this and you do this repetitive task and you keep on doing it. But you're not in tune with any other people in the same group. Now, what we mean by this is perhaps you're working to some specific goal in your MUN Impact Club, and one person's doing one thing and the other person is doing another thing, and it's a repetitive task that never changes, never ceases, and they just keep on doing that, and they're not really involved with each other. You want to avoid that. What you want to do is you want to involve thinking and doing aspects, and you want to get people involved with each other. Have communication, right? Have people interact with each other, perhaps have them switch the jobs or the chores, whatever you want to call them, so that everyone knows what they're working towards. You need to see the bigger picture to understand its importance. So focusing on projects is a really helpful way to do this. Now, projects are really useful to put into perspective what you have done once you completed them, and also to plan them out. Now, most projects are long-term, and it's easier to work things at the long-term than the short-term. We see this mostly with homework ourselves. You just do everything last moment, and that doesn't really work, or it doesn't come out as good as it could have. So plan things out on the long term and see what small things you can do to reach that goal. And that goes into persistence. Rather than doing everything at the same time or like in the same day, you want to plan it out beforehand. You want to set about some goals on a weekly, maybe even daily basis, but it's better to have them on a weekly basis, and especially on a monthly basis, something you do, something specific that you've gotten done throughout the month, and you can show something for it. And eventually that will stack up and make a big difference. So continuity, structure such activities in a way that they're instantiated in a period of time, adequate to your circumstances. If it's in a school and you're mostly working with people in your club with schoolmates, it's not very useful to just have this goal and just like be really keen on it, but then you have exams coming up. So, instantiate things in a way that you can actually do them. Don't create impossible tasks, is basically what I'm saying. Now, this relates to everything I've said before. Communication is of high importance. You don't want to be the creator of a club and then end up being behind everyone, just telling them like, hey, like keep on reminding them of, hey, you need to do this, hey, you need to do this, hey, you need to do this. You, first of all, don't want to become that person. And second of all, it's not very useful for efficiency. So one of the things that we found here in MUN Impact is that daily communication, just simple messages, make a very, very, very big difference in the long term, because it keeps people engaged, it keeps people knowing what they're doing, and everyone knows what's going on. The way we did this, for example, in MUN Impact Global, is we had daily icebreakers with the diplomats. And so they were always engaged, always on the platform, and thus they had an encouragement to find out what was going on and maybe participate a little bit in certain things or more in others. That's why communication, and if you can make it daily communication, if it's with schoolmates, just bring the topic up just once a day, so you know what you're doing. And now we're leading into the examples of Manav and Ayala.
Okay, so basically, in order to raise awareness, what our school has been doing over the past years is the following activities. So for the school year of 2018 and 2019, Ayala decided to use the SDGs in order to decorate our school agendas. And also on the interdisciplinary week, we decided to focus it on SDG 1, no poverty. The 4th of ESO girls, so basically 4th of ESO is the 9th grade in the American system. So that grade basically started learning about the SDGs, and they also prepared some presentations about them and about MUN Impact. And then they went to all grades to explain the UN agenda of 2030. In October 2018, we traveled to the Royal Russell Conference in UK, and there our journalist team had an article published in the conference magazine about MUN Impact and about SDGs. We also had another article published on another conference magazine, which was MUN, and it was in Slovenia. Also, at our own conference, we decided to run an SDG photo competition. So at the MUN Impact 2019, all the participants had to take 5 pictures representing 5 different SDGs. And last but not least, we also, on March 2019, our club organized an awareness event for SDG 6, clean water. During a school event, we set up information boards about the Thirst Project, which is an organization that raises money in order to build drinking wells in Africa. We also organized some races where the participants had to run with buckets of water in order to show them how hard it might be to go to fetch water every day. Next, a very important thing, we have to donate to charity. So in April 2019, our class decided to organize a school-wide collection of clothes, toys, and books, which would then be donated to Caritas, which is an organization in line with SDG 1, no poverty. The progress of the collection was documented on our social media of MUN Bilbao, and it was then when we were contacted by MUN Impact and we were asked to become a MUN Impact Partner Club. So we could say that basically it was the turning point of our club. After the success of the first collection in May 2018, we decided to run a monthly collection. So we organized it in a way that each grade had to bring a specific item of food, and each last Friday of the month, the MUN Impact students would take the food to a local church in Bilbao. And this project was in line with SDG 2, Zero Hunger. And before coronavirus came into our lives and everything stopped, to the start of the year of 2019 and 2020, the club organized a solidarity snack bar during one of the school's weekend family activities, where 25% of the profits were donated to the organization I talked to you previously, Thirst Project, in order to raise money to build drinking wells in Africa. I think Munabe also did another activity about donating to charity.
Yeah, in fact, despite the fact that, well, the photo is not here, we did do a recollection of children's clothes to donate to a local charity. And it's something we worked on, I believe, the last 2 months of school. We got, I think, around 2 boxes or so to donate, just with everyone in the school, just donating their younger brother's clothes that perhaps like they didn't use anymore, that they didn't have any more use for them. And so we brought them to the charity, and that helped.
Okay, also what our club has been doing are beach and river cleanups. So Ayalde was in charge of the beach cleanup, and it was held on May 2019. So we wanted to look for a project that was in line with SDG 14, Life Below Water. So we came up with this. In a conjunction with another activity, with another organization, we organized a morning rubbish collection at a local beach of Bilbao, which is Arrigonaga. And the turnout was good, and several tons of rubbish, including lots of plastic, such as 3 car wheels.
Right. In Munava, we did our version of this as a river cleanup, which is one of the main things that we focus on in Munava, since we have around 3 main objectives. So 3 SDGs, 13 to 15. Again, one of them was also life below water. We have a river beside our school that throughout the years, really nobody's paid much attention to. So we decided to take upon ourselves to look at it and see what it looked like, basically. And as you can see here, this is the biology group, or my class. I'm actually included there. And what we basically did is, for one of the units that we were working on, we decided to go down to the river and look at things and how they were going. And one of the teachers that had been working there for around 20 years saw that the flow of the water had started to decrease, and some areas of the water literally just didn't flow at all, just become stagnated there. And it gets really dirty. And we took a look at it. We checked for the pH levels, the oxygen in the water, and the biodiversity there. And what we did is we set a goal to do 1 cleanup per month. That's what we worked on. And through that, we saw those 3 things change. So first of all, the pH dropped, as in became less acidic. Sorry, yeah, it became less acidic. It actually didn't drop, it's the opposite, but it became less acidic, and such it was easier for life to be present. The biodiversity increased as a result of increased fluidity of the water, since there were no branches in the way or things that would get in the way of the river flowing properly, and for some species to be able to go from one place to another peacefully. And although this is vary due to the temperature, the amount of oxygen in the water did increase despite the changes in temperature in the summer. So yeah, the fashion show.
So another activity that our school organized was a fashion show. Last year, as October 17th is the International Day of Poverty, which links in with SDG 1, we decided to organize a 2-week school-wide collection of clothes, which we would then donate to a charity. In order to publicize this event in the younger grades, we hosted a fashion show on October 17th in order to encourage younger students to donate as much as possible. The models wore outfits, which they would then donate to charity. The students in MUN Impact had to make sure that the logistics of the event were perfect. So basically, we needed to make sure the sound equipment was good. We needed to start doing the decorations. We needed to email to parents and telling them about the event. And we also had to speak with the charity in order to bring in containers to the collection of clothes. On the day of the fashion show, everyone had a great time. Even some teachers participated, and everyone was so excited about the event. Now all the students are excited about it and want us to make another fashion show soon, but we don't know if it's going to be possible due to the current situation. What came out of this event were 2 large cases of clothes, and which were then donated to the charity Coopera.
So the MUN Impact Corner, this is basically a space, perhaps if you're in a school, this is easy to set up then. If you're not doing this with your school, it's also, you can try to involve your school with this. Honestly, they have no reason to say no to it, especially since they really have to do almost nothing for it except, well, get more students involved. But what the MUN Impact Corner is basically a space designated to MUN Impact, to what's going on, and to putting MUN on the map, where there are different conferences in your area. This was the case in the conference in Ayalde, which was last year in the period between January and February. And basically the alumni basically drop down to this floor and they just jotted down where their MUN community was.
Okay, so right now what Ayalde is planning to do is to collect the rabbits near our school. So our school is next to the mountains, and sometimes people are a bit careless of our environment. So what we are planning to do is to clean the entrance of our school, and then take this garbage to the place where they should be.
In Monave, we just plan to keep on doing what we're doing before with the river cleanups, and we do want to expand this to other schools. So what we've done right now is we've got in contact with a French school, and we plan to do several activities involved with them, especially since in our school, one of the subjects taught is French. So that will also help in that department. What we'll plan to do is do activities on an individual level, especially with the case of Corona taking place. So one of the activities that we plan on doing is basically doing recycling activities on an individual basis, and have the students record themselves while they're doing a recycling activity, join it up into a video, and create a montage between the French and the Spanish school, in this case Monave and Charles. And that's one of the current future projects that we're working towards.
Okay, so what you can do given the situation. So you may think there's nothing to do, but actually there are lots of activities where you can get involved. So one of them is MUN at home, or MUN en casa, or MUN Shebu, and another Arabic version. So basically this is a program which trains you in order to be a great delegate for future conferences. It helps you to prepare research for your country. It helps you to prepare opening ceremony speech, to do a resolution. So basically, it basically prepares you to what you have to do in a conference. Also, there are lots of online forums and events about SDGs where you can register and attend to them. And also, I think there are lots of conferences which are online and debates, especially in MUN Impact in the branch of Junior OMUN and OMUN. And then if you attend those conferences or debate, you can use the skills you have learned in the programs MUN at home. You also can prepare some presentations if you are at the school in order to spread awareness about the SDGs. Also, you can donate whenever you want. Nowadays, it's really easy to donate online. And also, there are some initiatives. There are some initiatives that help sew masks. For example, in Spain, during the pandemic, there were lots of people who were at home sewing them in order to help our hospitals. And last, you need to do individual activities, especially right now. You have to stay safe and stay healthy.
So this is just the simplicity of the situation, what you need to do. Here's the link which will drop down when the presentation is finished, so you can sign up if you are willing to create an MUN Impact Club. Now, these are just some main points to have into account while doing this. Two important people in this project will be an MUN director. So if you have any advisor with you that works on this kind of thing, you want to get them involved, especially since you will be working together with them, and you will need to appoint a liaison for your club. Perhaps it'll be yourself or someone that has more time to spare to do these activities. And finally, you need to put forth your action plan, which is a requisite of filling out the form. That's it. That's the end of the presentation. So we will now move into questions.
Krisha, another admin, is going to take over for our Q&A.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Delegates, you can raise your hands for the questions.
Sorry, what was that?
Please put your questions in the chat, actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
And from there, we'll be recognizing people, and you can choose to say it out loud, or we can read it out for you. Okay, our first question is from the press team, from Vedant. He's asking, how do you advance with several activities in your school when you have a low budget for your MUN club?
Right. Well, honestly, you don't need a high budget to do much. As an example, in Manabe, again, repetitive thing, but it's one thing that does make a difference, which was the river cleanup. You really only need a couple of gloves that you can get at home, and then just pick up whatever garbage is left there, and just more than anything, you need people and you need time. I would say if the biggest issue that you're coming across is a lack of budget, I'd work towards smaller goals. I did put the example before where perhaps you wanted to change something about the infrastructure, how things were run. That's going to be a bit more complicated than taking climate action on an individual level. Obviously, it involves making huge change, which, as you've mentioned, requires a budget, requires expenses. So I would have a look at taking it down a notch and finding something that you can do. You could try to fundraise. That could be a possibility. If it is your school that is being the problem with this, if this school is failing to provide an adequate budget, I would ask anyone that you know in your connections to start a fundraiser with you in order to pull these projects through.
All right, so another question from the press team is, how are you supposed to run a MUN club online, and how do you kick it off?
Well, I guess here with this, you mean how to keep it running in this case. And to begin is just to get the right people involved. So choosing an adequate team is essential. You really do want to pick people that the goal really hits their core, or they're in tune with it at least, because there's no point in bringing on board people that are just going to leave the project in a few weeks. If you're involving someone that does work, but they're more of a procrastinator, it would be better just to look for people who like doing small things at certain periods of time and build that up gradually. So, and well, in regards to doing it online, the key factor is constant communication. Set a period of time and always try to meet it. Try to never miss that period of that window when you're speaking with them, because that is essential to maintain a habit and constance throughout the year.
Okay, so Sophia from Mexico, do you want to ask your question?
Hi. So I am new, and I am right now directing an MUN club here in Mexico, in my school in Mexico, and we really want to reach out to a larger like sector in our communities. But since we are like in a new normality with coronavirus and all this stuff going on, we don't know how can we do that? Can we achieve that? Do you have any recommendations?
Can you repeat can you just repeat the first part of the question? You said reach out specifically to who? Larger organizations or other clubs?
No. So we need more people to get involved and to know about our MUN Impact Group.
Maria,
Okay, so what you can do at your school is basically what I told before about reaching awareness. You need to make presentations about what you are doing, about what people need to have in order to be in that group. For example, yesterday, my MUN Impact Club and we did a video telling about what we have been doing during the past year. And then we also explained a little bit about the summit, which is taking place right now. So basically, you need to spread all what you have and use your communication skills. That is, I think, the key in order to attract people and make them join your club.
Thank you.
All right, so Krisha, another admin is going to be taking over.
Okay. So the next question is by Marwan. He has asked, what would you say is the key factor to successfully run a MUN club online from scratch?
Basically, good planning and continuity. Just always putting that little small bit of effort in and keeping it going for the longest period of time that you can possible. It's not an easy thing to pick a huge goal and work towards it. And that's going to take way too much time, perhaps, than you actually have. So really choosing the right goal is an important thing, but that's something you'll work on towards trying to achieve it. It's not really easy to choose the best goal that's for you. Just choose what you think is important and take small steps towards it. Communication is key. That's the main point, though.
Okay, the next question is from Anwarul from Bangladesh. He has asked that how do you pursue your administration or the club coordinator to convince the need for MUN Club and their impact on students' daily learning about the real world?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. How do you pursue school administration or club coordinator to convince the need for MUN Impact Club and their impact on students' daily learning about real world?
Maria, would you like to answer this question? Or?
I'm not understanding. I don't know why. I hear like
Yes.
background noise.
You can check the chat. It's in the chat.
1 second. Okay, so basically, in order to convince your school to make a MUNI-Club, you need to sell the product. So you need to tell them what they are going to take from the activities that you're going to plan. So basically, my school at first was not really, enthusiastic about our MUN Impact Club, but our MUN director, which is amazing, like she did like a sort of planning and a sort of activities that we were going to do each year. And with that, we also saw our school that they were going to earn something. So for example, what they want most is, publishing it on social media so that the school gets recognition for the activities that we've been doing. So basically you need to sell the product. You need to tell them what they're going to have in return of letting you do or plan the MUN Impact Club.
Krisha?
Okay. Yes. The next question is from Aisha. She's asking, since an integrated part of MUN is debate, write-in resolutions, how do you tackle that and encourage its importance in the club?
So what I would say to this, unless you take, resolutions normally, like in an MUN impact environment, in an MUN impact MUN environment, are really, they're not really versatile in terms of like actually putting them through in the real world, because they're normally legislative documents. So I would say, if there are some good ideas or projects that you found while working on a resolution, let's say, perhaps you were researching on climate change, right? And you stumbled upon a couple ideas. Now I've forgotten the name of this Dutch inventor, but basically he designed this this machine that's capable of collecting rubbish in the ocean without much cost, basically reducing the cost. And really what he focused on is reducing the price to create such products. Now, if you include that in a resolution, that might be a tentative thing. Like that will certainly be a creative idea. To put that through to the real world is kind of hard. So instead of focusing on the resolutions, I would focus on local change you can actually make and you can see yourself doing.
Okay, the next question is by Anna Chris. She's from Mexico and she has asked, how can we officially start a MUN club and how do we contact anyone for that?
Maria, would you like to answer that one?
Okay, so in order to start a MUNI-Club, you need to have passion. You need to make sure that you want to do it. So also you need to make sure that you are going to have the time for the commitment a MUNI-Club takes. And I would say that in order to, so sorry, wait a second. In order to have contacts or if you have to contact anyone to start, I think you should just suggest it at your school. And then if any teacher is interested on it, she or he will help you. And if no one is interested, then you would have to do what I told you before, which is the selling product thing. So I think that you have nothing to lose if you want to start a MUNI club. And yeah, you should do it.
Okay, the second last question is there any requirement that only teachers or other school staff can be a director or even students are able to be?
Yeah, so as I mentioned in one of the last slides of the presentation, you have your director, which needs to be an adult. Now, if you're 18, it's perfectly feasible for you to be one, but it is recommendable that you have an adult on site to do so. And they would sign up with their email in the link that's provided below. I'll resend it again. And then you will need to appoint a liaison, which needs to be a youth member, so under 18 in this case. So really, the only age requirement is for the director, not the liaison.
Natasha, would you like to take up? I'm not able to see the chat.
Sure.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any more questions? Please put them in the chat.
There are.
I'm only my
Okay,
chat.
there's one question by John. Like, once you have got your project working successfully, you will have loads of ideas for original and creative operative clause for your resolution.
Okay, there's another question. There's a statement. There is. Okay, what are the works of a liaison? To answer Ghislaine questions. So basically, the liaison is just the person that you put as a leader in this case for the club. So in this case, if you're going to create it, you can be the liaison. Another point to keep in mind is the liaison will be the person who will keep in contact with MUN Impact. This will be a connection between the liaison, so perhaps you in this case, and MUN Impact Global DSG or diplomat in order to see what's going on throughout the months and what you've gotten done as part of the work. So that's basically what a liaison does.
Okay, so John from Turkey asked, have you found it difficult to get other non-MUN teachers on board with your ideas?
Personally, at my school, I haven't found it difficult. Like in every activity we have done, all teachers were super excited about it. They were all helping us and they had no inconvenience of, for example, letting us do the presentations in every class. They also encouraged their students in order to bring more to bring more food items for the food collection. They also spread the word about the beach cleanup. No, I think at my school there was no problem at all.
If it is the case that you're having difficulties putting the idea through to your teachers, you do need to take the negotiative approach and really do try to sell to them. So it's a hard thing to do, but find something you can correlate between doing an activity in the club and some benefit they can find for themselves. Now, perhaps if this teacher participates in the MUN Impact Club and provides help towards publicized, basically creating publicity, good publicity for the school, perhaps his superiors will see that as a good thing for that person in particular, that teacher in particular. So that could be a way to persuade a teacher.
Okay, so Mohammed asks, what is the most important part to having a successful club? The activities, or was communication just the most important part?
Okay, so I think that these two are really, really related. So basically, in a club with no activities, you have no club. So I would say that the activities are the most important ones. But then also with no communication, you're not going to attract people to join your club or to come to those activities. So I would say that, okay, first activities and then communications, but really, really close.
Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but Anwar asks, is it useful to work with other clubs with a project or school events to raise publicity?
You bet. Two schools publicizing like just one activity will get basically the whole market for one school seeing and looking at what another school is doing, and as such, what the other club is doing. Teaming up for things is one of the best things you can do. Now, unfortunately, with COVID, it's hard to do that in a physical sense. So again, as I mentioned before, with my school, we are teaming up with a French school. So it really does help get the publicity out there. Especially since both parts, deal what they were asked to do.
Okay, so Anush from India asks, in my school hardly anyone knows about MUN, so is it worth to convince the teachers and start a club in my school?
Well, it depends on yourself. It's obviously gonna take a bunch of effort to convince people. Now, it might be easiest to convince your friends to do something about it. But if you're really having doubt between starting one and not starting one, just be sure that you're passionate about it and that you want to do it and that you see yourself doing it. Because if you don't, then it's probably not worth it.
Okay, are there any more questions?
So I put the presenters' Instagrams in the chat, so I'm not sure about them, but I'm assuming that if you have any more questions or anything, you can reach out to them there, or whatever else they feel is a great place to reach out to them.
Yeah, that for me in this case, my Instagram is a good choice. However, my email is also a good point of contact. I'll just drop that down.
Me too, I will write it on the chat.
Okay, there's a question by John. What do you see as the next step in developing your clubs from where you have got?
Maria, would you like to answer that?
So our next step right now, I think it's a bit, I think it's a bit vague because of the situation of coronavirus. We're hoping to hold another fashion show this year. We're hoping to, hold another beach cleanup on May, but we couldn't. So right now, our next step is basically doing individual activities where you are not at risk. Right now, our next project, as I told you before, was the rubbish to collect the rubbish at our school. Of course, everyone is going to wear masks and everything, but right now, the biggest step in mind, we do not have it yet. We need to wait till the pandemic finishes.